Good afternoon from Southeast Asia. We happen to be in Manila, in BGC, Bonifacio Global City, BGC. It's in Manila, Philippines. There's more to say, but I can't pronounce it correctly, so I'm going to shut my mouth. Okay. We're doing a bunch of videos about Southeast Asia. Okay. We got two channels going. We got Retire Southeast Asia. I'm really screwing this up. I haven't done a podcast for a while. You can't tell, can you? Okay, then. We now... It used to be that all of our content was on stockphotosworldwide.com. Okay, then it's just getting mixed and matched since then. What happened was we overran the capabilities of the servers that we had serving up that site. And we swore for years and decades that we would never, ever, ever even utter the word YouTube. It's a 4-letter word. Count them. YouTube. 4 letters. We swore. We swore a death oath. Death oath. Yeah. Blood oath. Something like that. That we would never go on YouTube. And then the demand for these podcasts totally outstripped the 2 or 3 servers we had going. And we can't afford the, $1,000 a month. Well, we're not going to afford $1,000 a month to give it the space and the bandwidth that it needs. We've got terabytes of podcasts. We've got, 300 alien podcasts. We got, stuff everywhere. And we can no longer privately serve it. So it has to go on YouTube. So here it is. God, geez, we hate YouTube. Censors are listening and they're gonna ghost our channels now. Anyway, we got a bunch of Southeast Asia, do you want to come here type podcasts on Retire Southeast Asia channel. Wait, I gotta go look. Okay, that's correct. One of the channels on YouTube is Retire Southeast Asia. And this one's not going there because this one's nice. And this one doesn't have any F-bombs. F-bombs. Okay. So since we're on YouTube now, we've got to clean up our dirty, filthy, disgusting mouths, plural. Okay. So this is a continuation of all the stuff we've got on Retire Southeast Asia. Okay. But it's going on a new channel called 10 Bears Travel Channel. Okay. It's all the same material, just without the F-bombs. You're trying to be nice. Okay. Okay. So that's where this one's going. If you want the nitty-gritty, really down in the dirt ones, go to, Retire Southeast Asia channel on YouTube. If you want nice, kind of sort of like semi-Disney rated, go to the 10 Bears Travel channel. It's nicer. We hate nice stuff, but nice frilly, fluffy things are not necessarily reality, but we're on YouTube, so we can't really give you reality, can we? Because they don't like it, or their advertisers don't like it, or somebody doesn't like it, or I don't know, the snowflakes don't like it, or the millennials don't like it, or I don't know who doesn't like it, but we like reality, but some people don't. Okay. All right, so we have been giving you on the 10 Bears Travel channel, we've been giving you a few podcasts about BGC. Do you want to retire to the Philippines and live in BGC? Because it's a pretty safe bet. It's nicer than where you're living right now. Pretty safe bet. So do you want to retire? Well, we've been going through that and prepping you a bit, but we've been nice. We've given you a lot of fluffy, pastel, colored, airy-fairy crap about BGC. And that crap's got to end. Now we got to do a little bit of reality, just without the F bombs. Okay. Oh, it's going to be hard. It's going to be painful. Because every time I want to do an F bomb, I got to inflict pain somewhere to make me stop. You know, like a little electroshock therapy or something like that. Okay, so this episode is mostly about the downside of BGC and somewhat about the downside of Philippines and a little bit about the downside of Southeast Asia in general. It took a long time to get to that. Okay, you gotta know the good, the bad, and the ugly. We've given you most of the good. Now we're gonna see some ugly. Okay. Now, I live in BGC. Been here a while. It's different than what I thought it was going to be. It's both better than I thought it was going to be and worse than I thought it was going to be. Do I recommend it? I'm not sure yet. Pushing a year. I'm not sure what I don't know. I could go either way. I could jump either way. I don't know. Another year maybe will tell the story for me, but I'm going to give you everything I know to help you. Now, I lived here in the Philippines like 10 years ago, 8, 9, 10 years ago, for a while. Didn't like it. I swore if I ever went back, I would only live in BGC. I was in Makati and all around. I went everywhere, whatever, 8, 9, 10 years ago. And I swore I would never come back to the Philippines unless I could live in BGC. And so here I am, and we're trying it out. So I'm going to give you the downsides. I'm going to give you the reasons that I am not sure if I will stay in BGC. And I got a list here. And I'm adding to it like every 30 minutes, you know. It's getting longer and longer. But we're going to go through the main bulk of them right now. I am a retired photographer, and photographers never retire. You know, it's like rattlesnakes never die. Well, until sunset, you know, that's the old saying. Photographers, even if they stop selling stuff, they keep on taking pictures forever and ever and ever, long after death. You know, well into the next lifetime or 2 or 3. And I'm no different. So I like to take pictures. I'm sorry, it's hot here. We got two air conditioners running and fans all over the place. It's still, you know, 250 degrees Fahrenheit. And we got typhoons and monsoons and crap. Okay, so it's hot, I'm sorry. I like to take pictures. I never leave home without a camera or 2 or 3. I got big DSLRs, I got little stuff, I got weirdo cameras, I got things, I got weird things. The way that I got to be a photographer was that I suck at art. No, you don't understand, I suck. You want to see a picture of my horse drawing? No, you don't. You'll throw up. Jeez. Okay, so all I can do is make copies of art that already exists. So when I look outside, I walk around outside, I look around, everywhere I look, I see art. Everything, almost everything. Even a pile of dog crap, that can be artful, you know, it can. If photographed from the right angle, the right lighting, can be art. Everything can be art. I see it everywhere. It's like I got these special glasses on, I see art. Okay, so I copy it. I do that by taking a picture. And then I pull it up in Lightroom or whatever and make it look even better than reality. And that's the only way that I can do art. Because I got no talent any other way. I don't. I'm sorry. You know, if I was really clever, I'd show you a picture of a horse drawing, but I'm not going to put you through it. I love to take pictures. I love to. Mostly I like pictures of people. Now, if you walk around BGC, you will see signs, big signs, put up by the, well, I was going to say by the government. It's not the government. BGC is a privately owned city. within the city of Manila. All the policies, it's all private property. The whole city is private property, and they can make any rules they want, and they do, willy-nilly. They have a rule that photography of any kind with any camera is allowed and encouraged in BGC. Well, that's very cool because BGC is a very photogenic kind of a place. The problem is that that's bullshit. No, that wasn't an F-bomb. That was the B-bomb. BGC has erected these big, colorful signs all over the place that says photography is allowed and encouraged in BGC. Oh, we love it. We love you photographers. And they got pictures of DSLRs on them and stuff like that. And so you might walk into BGC and you're thinking, oh, God, I'm home. Thank you. Thank you, BGC, because I love to take pictures, and you've just given me permission with all these signs. That must be your official policy, right? No. Well, maybe that's the official policy. The real policy seems to be no. Now, when I first got here, I was just so happy. I was delighted. I picked up a couple of DSLRs and I was out walking around and shooting here and shooting there. Not thinking anything about anything. Just looking for art that I could, effectively steal, copy and steal. Pictures of interesting people, of cats, of trees, of, dog poop, whatever. And I was only a few weeks into that activity when I happened upon a spot in High Street. And it had a pretty little grassy, terraced knoll kind of a thing. There was no people in there, but it just looked pretty. It just caught my fake artist's eye. And I thought, man, that'd be a pretty picture. Maybe I could make like a background on my desktop, something like that. And I was carrying an tiny old ancient DSLR. It was one of my walking around cameras, so that if I get mugged, which is not going to happen in BGC, but if I did, I wouldn't cry too long about losing that camera. It was a crap old camera with a kit lens. It was shit, it's a shit camera. It's a carrying around disposable camera. So I raised that thing up and I snapped one picture of that grassy knoll kind of a thing. No people, no nothing. No corporate names, no logos, just a pretty kind of a grassy knoll. The grass was green and it was trimmed and it looked pretty. I snapped one shot, shut the camera off, turned, started walking away, walked maybe 3 feet, and I heard this boom, 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 boom behind me. And it was this old guard, full uniform. They try to look like the police. And he was literally running down this hill up behind me, yelling. I think it's the only English he knew. He's yelling, "No photos BGC, no photo BGC." And I turned to meet him, and by that time he's 2 feet from me. And I'm trying to comprehend is he talking to me? Is he, no photo BGC, what does that mean? I'm trying to assimilate this, and he makes a lunge for my camera, and I jerked it away instinctively. And he's just yelling in my face, "No photos BGC." And I said, "What the hell are you talking about?" And we were literally, 7 to 9 feet from one of the big BGC signs that says all photography is welcome regardless of the camera. It's got a picture of a DSL on there bigger than mine, bigger than that one. And he launched into a tirade about, in very bad, barely understandable English, about how I could not take photos in BGC. And I said, "Look, there's a sign right, look behind you. There's the sign that says I can do this." And he just kept repeating the mantra, "No photo BGC." And I told him what I thought of that. And he thought, "Oh, we got a live one here." And he called in backup. His radio called in backup. And it went downhill from there. And there was no physical touching, but there was verbal touching. And I told him, "I'll see you at BGC admin at the administration office, because I'm going there right now." And he kind of backed off. "Oh, BGC admin. okay, and I just turned and walked away. I did go to the BGC admin office. I showed them the picture that I had taken of the grassy little 1/10 of an acre knoll thing with no people and no businesses. And it took them a week to crunch through that, and they did, and they got back to me by email and said, okay, well, we're really sorry. We're going to re-educate the guards. God, geez. Okay. So this is not going to happen again, right? Right. We got your back. Don't worry. Yeah. Okay. So a week, 8 or 9 days later, I was over at a place called Uptown Mall. They have a beautiful fountain there. I was sitting there on a concrete ledge looking at the fountain. I had a GoPro. And I had the GoPro on a tiny little tripod thing about 8 inches tall. It fit in my pocket, you know. And I set it on the concrete ledge, and I was filming the fountain in slow-mo. I wanted to get just a minute or two of the fountain in slow-mo. Thought that would be cool. I don't know, maybe use it for something. I don't know what. And one of the guards, I saw him out of the corner of my eye, and he's watching me, and he starts sidling over, and pretty soon he's walking straight at me with his hand up, with palm out, like, stop, stop, stop. Stop taking a video with your GoPro of that fountain, you know. Oh, that's some kind of satanic activity you're doing there. You gotta. He didn't say anything, but I just picked up the GoPro and walked away. I wasn't going to wait for it. I didn't mention that to BGC, to the admin. I didn't. I should have. I didn't. Fast forward a month or 6 weeks later, I was at a place called Market, which is a big old popular mall, and it's kind of not really very photogenic, but a little bit. I mean, if you're really creative, you can find some things to snap something up. And they've got a manicured, trimmed bush that looks like a camel, some kind of a shrub thing. And I thought, oh, well, that's a kind of cool looking, you know. I'll take 7 seconds of video of that with my GoPro again. A GoPro. And I took about 7 seconds of video of that thing. Kind of cool looking. And I turned and bam, right there's a guard right on me. And he says, you have a license to take that? I said, what? What license for what? Do you have a commercial photographer's license? And I said, no, I don't need one. In the first place, I'm not a commercial photographer. And this is a GoPro. Can you see this tiny little camera thing? I'm not going to be taking any commercially viable footage with a GoPro. And he wanted to argue about it. And I told him, okay, let's go to admin. I've been through this before. Let's go to admin right now, you and me. Oh, you went to admin before. Okay, well, okay then. And he started to walk away. And by this time I pissed, because this is the 3rd encounter for me in as many months or less. And I caught up to him and said, look, this is a GoPro. Nobody's going to be taking commercially viable footage with a GoPro. You know, you see a big production camera, a video camera. Maybe you can talk to them, ask them if they have a license, as if they would need one, you know, to take 7 seconds of a manicured bush. Anyway, I looked around there as I was talking to him, and there were probably 15 people taking video and or photos of the same bush or other bushes. 15 people. They were all Filipinos. I was the only white person there. And it just finally hit me. A little lightning bolt struck through my eyeball. I thought, oh, I get it. This is a racist thing. This is a racist thing. He didn't look at the Filipinos, didn't glance at them. He only had an issue with me because I'm pasty white and probably too tall for my own good. He didn't want to talk to me after I brought up admin, and he kept trying to walk away, and I was polite. Yeah, I was I was insistent that he should go talk to admin and you know, get up to speed on the policies, because this is a problem. And he just continued to walk away, and I did too. I did turn that into BGC admin. Let's see, probably about the last week in August 2023. Never heard back. So the point of this long story is that if you like to take pictures and you are white, think very carefully before you decide to vacation or relocate to BGC. Now, this happens, since this began happening, I've been following this all over the Manila area. There are websites about it. Filipinos do get harangued for this. It's not just white people, but I think it's predominantly white people. People are being pestered and annoyed and harassed for taking pictures all around Manila, more so in BGC, but at various different places around Manila, this seems to be a hot button issue. Taking pictures of a tree or a fire hydrant or something. Doesn't have to be taking a picture of somebody. It can be a picture of anything, a shrub or a grassy knoll. And somehow Filipinos have got this into their gourd that taking pictures with any kind of a camera for any reason, for fun, maybe with a Polaroid, I'm not sure, that's somehow wrong, it's somehow morally evil, antisocial. Can't take pictures, BGC, can't take pictures, Manila. Well, it's crap. It's crap. It's just crap. It's just crap. I'm sorry. I have traveled around the world 2.5 times. I've taken pictures in every country, even Muslim countries, even communist countries. I've never run into this. I don't know the reasoning behind it. If you're running up to somebody's face and snapping a picture of their face, especially at some inopportune moment or something, well, that's kind of sleazy. I mean, in America, the law is, in most Western countries, the law is that if you are in a place that is visible by the public, even in your own home, if you have the curtains open, you're fair game. Period. That's the only way it can be. That's the only way it can be. If you are viewable by the public from a public place, you are fair game. Period. That's the only logic that works. There are many reports, and I have seen videos of this event, of the various of this event, where delivery riders on motorbikes, because everything here is delivered by motorbike with saddlebags and trunks, if they have a little action cam or a GoPro or something mounted on their helmet, which is protection for them in case of an accident, so they'll have documentation of who hit whom. Guards, even today, 1st of September 2023, guards will sometimes stand on corners and see them coming with a GoPro stuck up there on their helmet, and they'll run out into traffic and they'll stop them and they'll hold up traffic. And they'll tell them to take that GoPro off that helmet. You cannot film. You cannot take photos. You cannot take video. And the drivers are, what are you talking about? And they don't even have time to assimilate it. And in some cases, the guards will grab the GoPros and try to break them off the helmets of these riders. And I have seen the video of it. The video of it is out there. And there are plenty of stories where there was no video of it. In some cases, there have been physical altercations. There have been minor injuries. And I don't understand this mentality. I don't understand it. No one can explain it to me. I questioned BGC over this, BGC admin. I questioned them, and I asked them, what about all the cars that have dash cams? And more models every day are coming out with dash cams built in. What are the guards going to do about that? They're going to stop every car and search it for a factory-installed dash cam. Could be hanging from the mirror, could be under the hood, could be some location the car owner doesn't even know where it is. And what are the guards going to do? They're going to stop and they're going to open the hoods out there in traffic in the intersection and start searching for these dash cams. And if they find one, what are they going to do? They're going to try to rip it out of the car with their bare hands. What the hell is going on here? I'm serious. This is, I was going to say this is borderline insanity. No, it's not borderline. It's insanity. It's insanity. It's some kind of peculiar mind warp something. This notion must have hatched over some kind of activity that was occurring, I don't know, decades ago, maybe when cameras first were invented. I don't know where this comes from. Now, the weird thing is, if you get out of Greater Manila and you go around the country, which I have quite a lot, you will not find this mentality anywhere. I've never even heard rumors of guards or police trying to stop people from taking pictures anywhere else in the Philippines except Greater Manila, and especially in BGC. I'm reminded of the old Indian days, the old West, American West, where the Indians refused to have their pictures taken because they thought if the photographer did that, he would steal their soul. Now, I have lived on a number of Indian reservations in the American West, Southwest. I have ridden horses extensively all over those ranges. Sometimes I wanted to take pictures of Indians. A lot of Indians living out there just like they did 100, 150 years ago. I mean, really, truly. And I was compelled to ask them, is it okay if I take your picture? Some would say yes, some would say no. Because the notion that I might steal their soul still persists in the modern American West, out on the Indian reservations. And I respect that, that's fine. But you can't steal the soul of a fire hydrant or a grassy knoll or a shrub. So, this is a hot button issue for me, you can tell. It's a really hot button issue for me. It makes me think I do not probably want to live in BGC because I love taking pictures too much. That's my life's blood. If I breathe, I must also take photos. I just can't stop. And I don't want to stop. And I'm polite about it. And I shouldn't be shut down for that activity. And neither should you. But I worry if you come here with your family for vacation, and especially, not necessarily, but especially if you're white, and especially depending on the size of your camera. The bigger the camera, the more trouble you're going to have. Now, I've had trouble with GoPros. The only camera I have not had a problem with is a cell phone. It appears that cell phones are exempt. Now, I have a cell phone. It's one of my phones is a Samsung S23 Ultra. The resolution and capabilities and picture quality on that thing far exceed a GoPro. But the cell phone is perfectly acceptable where the GoPro sometimes is not. There's no logic to this whatsoever. There's just no logic to it at all. And apparently BGC or Greater Manila government, I guess they just don't understand that themselves. And even if they do, they seem to be loath to communicate that to their police and to their guard system. So I see the whole photography issue as an ongoing problem. I don't see it being rectified. BGC admin has told me they have re-educated their guards. No, they didn't. Or if they did it, it wasn't effective. So photography is a big problem in Greater Manila. So for photographers, I do not recommend you come here until and unless Greater Manila gets a handle on this crap, because it's crazy crap. Okay, that's my rant on photography. So I told you, I told you this episode. I have touched on this subject a few of the times, but never in depth. And I don't know what tomorrow holds. I could be out there. I have been asked by an animal rescue to come and follow them around and tour with them and take pictures of the animals that they rescue. I used to do this in the U.S. for a big animal rescue. And they got word of that. They got a hold of me, and they want me to follow them around with good camera equipment and take pictures of the animals. I told them flat out, I'm scared to do it. I'll try, and I'll stick with them as I'm doing it. So if I have problems, they can fight with the guards, because I'm tired of it. I don't want to do it anymore. I'm afraid I'll say things that I shouldn't say, because this issue is so incredibly insane. Okay, now, you think, okay, well, I don't like to take pictures anyway, so that doesn't affect me. Yes, it does. Because what this whole issue does is illustrate a peculiar kind of illogic that persists all through Southeast Asia. Philippines has its share or more than its share of it, but other places do too. All of them, all the Southeast Asia countries, they're I don't know, there's something a little whacked in there, and I don't know what it is. Yes, it's a difference in culture, but it's beyond that. I'm going to try to prepare you for it. And the last story we're going to do for this episode will prepare it for you to a much greater degree. Okay, now, we're talking about weird strains of logic in BGC. I happen to live in a high-rise in BGC. I'm not going to tell the name at this time. I have a website prepared about this building. I have not launched it. All I got to do is click one button and upload it. It's a review of the building that I live in. In this building, we are now required, if we want to go to our own pool inside the building, it takes 2 RFID cards to get to the pool. If we want to go to that pool, we got to use those cards to get into the pool, to access the pool area. Once we do, a permanently assigned employee from the admin of the building will run out. I guess they can see us from their office, I don't know. They will run out with a clipboard full of forms, and you have to fill out a form for you and for each person you bring with you, asking, what time did you come to the pool? What are you going to do in the pool? What are the names? What unit do you live in? What time are you going to leave? And you got to sign it to go into your own pool in your own building. And when you leave, you got to sign out again. Is that crazy? You decide. Now, we have a beautiful roof in this building. Before I signed the lease here, I went up on the roof. It's open. Doors are open to it. They're not even closed. They're propped open. No signs saying keep out or anything. You go up on the roof. It's a beautiful roof. Beautiful view of the entire city, panorama. Huge, high concrete walls all the way around the roof. Different areas up there. Beautiful. I don't know why there aren't tables and stuff up there. It's a perfect place for it. I thought, man, that's great. That's great for pictures, you know. So I started going up there. I signed the lease, moved in, started going up there. And I went in there for a month or two, went up there for a month or two, I guess. Got some great footage. And then one day, I was run out of there by the guards. I said, no, you can't come up here. No, you can't. No, this is off limits for tenants. I said, why? You know, is there a hazard? Is there an obstruction? What's the reason? Well, we don't know, but you can't come up here. Okay. Then you need to put some signs on the doors, or close the doors, or lock the doors, or something, so that people don't make this mistake. Well, you have to talk to admin. So I did. I went and talked to admin. Said, what's the deal? Sent him an email. Very respectful. You know, I'm a retired photographer. I like to take pictures. I'd like to go up on the roof when big monsoons or typhoons approach, and I'd like to take footage. And I'm told I can't do that, and I'd like to know why. I'm paying for that amenity in this condo. Why can't I use that amenity that I'm paying for? You've already made it difficult to use the pool. Now you made it impossible to use the amenity on the roof. So what gives? No reply. I waited a couple of months, tried again, no reply. Finally hand-delivered a message to the admin office. Said, I can just keep on sending these. You know, sooner or later, you're going to reply. And they did reply and said, well, the roof is just off limits, and we don't have any reason. It just is, and that's all there is to it. Suck it up. And I explained why I wanted to go up there, and explained that I didn't need to go up there maybe once or twice a month when a big storm rolled in. And I would like to negotiate some kind of special permission to go up there. If you just give me a letter, something, a note from my mommy, you know, saying I can go up there, snap a few pictures for 4, 5, 6 minutes, come back down. I mean, I live right under the roof, so, you know. And they just said, nope, not going to do it. And I said, okay, once I'm out of the building, you can read your review of this building. No reply. Now, we had a problem when I first moved in here with the same building. I signed the lease, and I was waiting for my RFID card. It's supposed to take, 2, 3, 4 days. This one took 3 weeks, so I had 3 weeks where I didn't have an RFID card, but I had the lease. And the guards wouldn't let me in to my own condo, wouldn't let me in. I would have to call the owner, and she would have to come from across town on the bus and talk to the guards and say, look, what's the problem? I rented this condo to this man. He has the lease. What is the problem? Why won't you let him into his own condo? Well, he doesn't have an RFID card. I said, okay, well, for some reason there's a holdup on it, but he has the lease. So what's the problem? Well, okay, we'll let him in. So the owner, on several occasions, the owner would go away, and then I would go to enter into the condo, and the guards, could be 3 minutes. And the guards would say, no, you can't come in. And I would say, look, the owner was just here. Oh, we got a typhoon coming through. Holy crap. I know you can hear that. We're right in the middle of typhoon season, so it's fun. That's debris and stuff hitting the outside of the building. So anyway, the guards wouldn't let me in again. So finally, after about 4 times of this, the owner, with the agent, went to the admin of this building, said, look, this is crap. This has got to stop. This guy's a legitimate tenant here. Here's his lease. He's paid. He's got the key. You're holding up the RFID card for some unknown reason that you won't tell anybody. And he needs to get in. He goes grocery shopping. He comes back. You won't let him in the building. What's the problem? So admin said, okay. And they wrote up a special letter for the guards Said this man is waiting for his RFID card to open the door automatically, and you need to let him in. So they gave that to me. And I went out, tried to come in, guards wouldn't let me in. Showed them the lease, they wouldn't let me in. Showed them the letter, they wouldn't let me in. Had to get the owner again. And you're sitting there in the lobby all this time waiting for the owner to show up. And it's insane. But what I'm doing is trying to show you the peculiar illogic that persists in all Southeast Asian countries, but most particularly in the Philippines. Now, I finally did get the RFID card. It was 3 or 3.5 weeks later. That solved the problem. Then I didn't have to talk to the guards. I just click the door, I come in. The owner and the agent went back to admin and said, okay, now once and for all, we want to know what the hell's going on here. What was this problem all about? And one of the admin people privately told them that since the owner had been late paying a $4 water bill for this same unit, admin had told the guards to give the new tenant a hard time. And that was fully admitted by the admin of this building. This building is one of a series of buildings. I don't know how many they have here in BGC. They must have 8 towers. It's a huge corporation. They should know better, but they don't. And this is the kind of crap you're going to run into again and again and again and again and again. In the Philippines, especially in Manila, most especially in BGC. I haven't had any trouble since I got the RFID card because I don't have to talk to them. They can't stop me anymore. God help me if I ever lose that RFID card, because I won't be able to come home. Okay. I hope you are just beginning to get a grasp of how wackadoodle things can be in other countries. I can tell stories all around the world about wackadoodle things. Like, I love that word. Came from, I don't know, Judge Judy or some horrible person like that. I don't know, wackadoodle. I can't remember who. Anyway, great word, wackadoodle. Wack. Be afraid, because you ain't in Kansas anymore. Now, I'm telling you all these stories for one purpose, and that purpose is to help you decide, do you really, truly want to move to Southeast Asia? Okay, because other channels, other people doing these things will not tell you this crap. They will not tell you. They're afraid to say anything on YouTube. They're terrified of YouTube. They don't know what they can say, what they can't say. And I don't care, because I have servers. If YouTube wants to yank a video because I talked plainly and frankly and realistically and factually, if they want to yank a video, put it on my server. Don't care. Hopefully they won't, but if they do, it's their loss. Maybe my gain. Okay. One of the things you'll run into in, BGC particularly, but anywhere in the Philippines, but most especially in Manila and BGC, the guards are not police. Guards are private. They're security guards. They're just security guards. In some cities on the West Coast, they have a lot of them. They were not very good people, usually. A lot of them rode bicycles. There were a few good ones, not too many. 10-15% I considered competent. I came from federal law enforcement. I realized that, private security guards are not going to have anything approaching that level of competence or professionalism, but 80-85% of them I considered to be just liabilities, just problems looking for a place to happen. We used to call them worms on wheels because they just rode around making problems, you know. They didn't really solve too much. They just caused a lot. So Manila, the Philippines, all the Philippines uses guards to a very great deal. I remember I was up in Clark one time many years ago. Went to McDonald's. There was 4 armed guards out in front. 2 had pump action shotguns. 2 had fully automatic somethings. 4 out in front. Inside were 3. You know, Philippines has crime, but it's not that bloody dangerous. The Philippines likes guards. They are a militant kind of people, and it could possibly have something to do with the Spanish blood, which I personally think the Spanish blood was a positive influence when the Spaniards came. I'm not going to go into that whole thing. Philippines has guards, has all kinds of guards. And they like to tell you to do things, particularly if you're white, because they don't like white people all that much, really. It's not like Thailand, where they tend to hate whites secretly. The Philippines don't yet hate whites. They might someday. I don't know. The Philippines is more westernized than, well, I think than all other Southeast Asia countries. I've lived in almost all of them. Philippines is, I always tell people, it's a halfway house between a Western culture and Southeast Asian culture. It's halfway in between. But they love the guards, and the guards love to bully people, especially white people. Not all of them. Not that many of them. I would say at least 95% of the guards are good people. I have some that are personal friends. Good people. They're trying to do a good thing. 5%, 3 to 5% are shit. Contrast that with the U.S., where real, quote-unquote, real law enforcement is, well, I don't know what the percentage is anymore. It's not looking good for the U.S. anymore, as far as the quality of real law enforcement personnel. It's not looking good anymore. Go have a few watches of a channel called Audit the Auditors. That'll scare the daylights out of you about U.S. law enforcement. Okay. Philippines guards like to tell you to do stuff like walk over there on the other side of the street. And you look around, it looks exactly like this side of the street. Sidewalk is clear, no obstructions, nothing around, no overhead construction, no nothing. And you say, why? Say, you must. Now, some guys will back them down and say, okay, let's call the police. And if the police tell me to walk over there, I'll walk over there. But if the police tell you to shut up, then you're going to shut up and leave people alone. Some people will do that. I don't. Filipinos tend to side with Filipinos. Now, the cops, the real cops in the Philippines, don't particularly like the guards all that much. They see them kind of like we saw worms on wheels. You know, they're not really fond of them. But the guards, the private guards, to the real police are the lesser of the two evils, with the white people being the greater of the two evils. So if there's a conflict between the private guards and white people, cops are probably almost always going to side with the guards, even if the guards are dead wrong. So be really careful what you wish for. You know, if a guard is acting like a jackass, yeah, you can call the police. 1 in 10 instances, the police will back them down. 9 in 10 instances, the police will back them up. So be really careful what you're getting into. You are a visitor. Don't ever ever forget that. You're in someone else's home. You don't like how they run their home? Get out. That's the only option you've got. Just get the hell out. Okay. Another bitch I've got, and this is a big one. It's a thing called offloading in the Philippines. Offloading. Put a dash between the off and the loading or whatever. You can Google it. The Philippines has decided, the Bureau of Immigration has decided that pretty much every job offer around the world to a Filipino is a scam. Well, that's partly true. There are unscrupulous employers around the world who realize that Filipinos are poor, really, really poor, and they will set up job offers that are mostly fake or even entirely fake. And they might even send them a plane ticket. Say, come on over to Nigeria. We got a great job waiting for you. And the Filipinos are pretty trusting. And they'll say, oh, thank you. Now I can feed my family. So they'll hop on a plane to go. Okay. The Bureau of Immigration's, BI, saw this problem decades and decades ago, and they began to set into place protocols that would protect against it. Good. It's a good thing. It has saved certainly some females from being inducted unknowingly into sex trade operations. Somebody's 18, 19-year-old daughter, she gets an offer to work in a hotel in some Middle Eastern country. She jumps on a plane, goes there, never heard from again, because she is now a sex slave in some sleazy slum somewhere in Bangladesh. Probably going to die there at the age of about 25. Okay. That's fairly common. Not really common, but fairly common. I have knocked around Southeast Asia all these years. I've seen it up close and personal a few times, and I spent a lot of time in some pretty dark corners. I have not seen nearly as much of it as people want to portray. In 94% of the cases that I'm aware of, the girls wanted to be there. They knew what they were getting into. They knew everything that was going on. They were okay with the deal. Okay. You can't fix what ain't broke, all right? So the Bureau of Immigration set into place all these protocols to protect the girls from this really, really horrendously bad, scammy activity. And so what they do is, particularly a female, some males are subject to this also, but particularly the females, and particularly of a certain age, say, 18 to 32, especially if they're attractive, before they can fly out of the Philippines, they have to go to the airport. First, they have to get their ticket. They got to get their reservations. They got to get all their documents, 1,000 documents. They got to get it all in order. Takes a lot of time. Can take them weeks. Can take a lot of money, and they don't have money. But they jump through all these hoops, and they go to the airport, and their flight is 3 hours away. And instead of just checking in, going waiting for the flight, no. They have to go to Bureau of Immigrations, and they have to get cleared to get on the flight. Now, this could be a simple thing. It could be a straightforward thing. It could be a logical thing. It could be a good thing. Unfortunately, this whole program seems to have run off the rails some decade or two back. It was a big problem when I lived here 10 years ago. What happens is the Bureau of Immigration will put them through an interview. They will look for the tiniest discrepancies in their story about who they're going to meet, what they're going to do there. Do they really have a job? Well, they got to provide the documents showing a job offer written, you know. They got to have return ticket. They got to have this. They got to have that. And the BI can hang them up for an hour or 2 or 3 of intensive, intrusive interviews, and they will try to trip them up in their stories. One little discrepancy, bam, you're offloaded. You're banned from boarding your flight. You lose a ticket. If you have prepaid your hotel in the destination country, you've lost that. Maybe you got people waiting there. Maybe you got a bona fide legitimate job waiting there. You lost that because you didn't show up. Now, is this a common practice with the BI Philippines? Well, in Manila Airport, they offload on average about 50 a day. A day. If you are a guy in the Philippines and you've got a girlfriend and you want to go show her Vietnam, good luck. Unfortunately, I have never been in that position. I have never tried to take a Filipino girlfriend out of the Philippines. Could happen someday. But so far, I haven't run into that because I haven't desired to do that. It's a lot to see inside the Philippines. The BI seems to particularly like to prevent girls from leaving the country with white boyfriends. They seem to have this idea that every single white boyfriend on earth is some kind of a sex trafficker. In many cases, they will try their very, very best to convince the girl that the guy that she's been living with for 8-9 months is a secret sex trafficker, and he's taken her to Cambodia not to see the temples, but to sell her. And nobody will ever see her again. And in some cases, they will do their very best to convince her of that. And in many cases, 50 a day, just from Manila Airport. They will prevent them from boarding their flight. Now that means they lost the money for that flight. That means the airline has people waiting on standby for a reservation that doesn't show up. That means the airline can sell that seat a second time. They get double for that seat. Speculation is wide that perhaps the BI officers who do this in some occasions get kickbacks from the airlines. You know, some percentage of that double booking. No idea if that's true. I don't want to believe it's true. I don't know how you would ever catch him and trip him up if it is true. But people are looking for any kind of logic as to why the BI officers would stop females, mostly, from leaving the country. There's one case a few years ago where a 34-year-old, as I recall, 34-year-old attorney, female attorney, somewhat attractive. She had a legal meeting in Hong Kong. She had to be there a certain time. Went to get on her flight. She's a lawyer. She was a Philippines lawyer. Went to get on her flight. They put her through the gauntlet and offloaded her, prevented her from getting on her flight. She couldn't make the meeting with her team in Hong Kong. And she went ballistic. She went really public and really berserk. And it brought a lot of attention to this because she was one of the very, very few who had the wherewithal and the means and the training to challenge this crap. Now, that was years and years ago. That must have been close to a decade ago. And you would have thought that would have brought about some real big changes in this whole offloading policy. No, it did nothing. People have been griping more and more about it over the last few years. the BI just a few days ago, end of, let's see, well, it was supposed to go in effect September 3rd, 2023, had supposedly revamped the entire offloading procedure. It's supposed to be more fair. And everybody was like, oh my God, it's about freaking time. Well, it turns out when the fine print came out, no. Well, yeah, it was revamped. It was made far worse, far more restrictive, far more documents required. If it had been allowed to remain in effect, I don't know. I think probably hardly any person at all, probably hardly any Filipino at all would have been allowed to leave the Philippines. I remember when I was a kid, I heard about this in communist Russia, Soviet Union. And I thought, oh, no, that can't be true. No country can keep their own people prisoners in the country. If they want to leave, they can leave, right? Well, it was true in the old Soviet Union, and it's true in the Philippines. In the Philippines, it's under the guise of protecting them from the sex traders. Well, I do believe that saves some of them from being indoctrinated into sex trade bullshit. But I think it's pretty rare. The number of them who simply lose romantic possibilities or job options, or I think that number is vastly, vastly higher. I think that's somewhere up around 95% of the cases. Perfectly legitimate people, Filipinos wanting to go out of the country for perfectly legitimate activities, and they're prevented from doing it because it appears to me to be a power trip of the BI. Even for white people coming and going into the Philippines, it seems like every couple of months there are more hoops and procedures we have to jump through to get into the country and then back out. It has become the theater of the macabre, just trying to get into and out of the Philippines. I personally know people who will not ever come to the Philippines again and who will not allow their family to come to the Philippines ever again because of this kind of crap. So the offloading, it doesn't affect me. I don't know if it would affect you. What it does is serve to illustrate more really bizarre thinking on the part of the Philippines government. And you got to take that into consideration. Is that a country you want to live in that thinks like that? For me, it puts me right up there on the edge, right up there straddling the fence. I could go either way on it. You know, it hasn't affected me personally. It has affected most people I know. Want to take their girlfriend to Thailand for a weekend or a week. Could never get her out. Some of them try 2 or 3 or 4 times. They lose a flight every time. Remember that even if you buy a refundable ticket or a changeable ticket, that doesn't work 4 minutes before the flight. And you don't know until 4 minutes before your flight that you're going to be offloaded. So you lose everything. You lose everything. And then the guy, the boyfriend, he has to cancel his ticket because he's not going to go alone. It's BS. I'm sorry, it's BS. Is it insanity? Well, the original underpinnings of it had merit, trying to protect Filipino people. Good thing. They should do that. But there are far, far better ways to do that. Let them come in 2 or 3 weeks early. Process all their stuff 2 or 3 weeks early and give them a yes or a no. Yes, you can travel. No, you can't. If you can't travel, these are the reasons. You have 2 or 3 weeks to fix these reasons. Don't do it 4 minutes before the flight. I personally believe that 85% of this today stems from just a power trip. I know a guy who taking his girlfriend somewhere. He's a white guy taking his Filipino girlfriend. They'd lived together, I think, about 9 months. And he wanted to take her somewhere. I don't remember where. Singapore or Hong Kong or something. They met all the requirements. They had all that huge folder of documents that they had to amass. It took them weeks. And they had all this crap. And they got called in for a screening before the flight. When they showed up, they went through all the papers. They couldn't find anything wrong. And so what they did was, what the BI officers did was, they began telling this girlfriend, you know, sweetie, if you go with this man you've been living with for 9 months, if you go with him, he could be a sex maniac. He could rape you. He might take you to a hotel and tie you up and torture you with sex toys. This is the words and the language they used. And they went on about that for quite some time, and the guy got angrier and angrier and angrier. And I think they thought it was cute and funny that they could harangue this couple with this stupid shit talk. And they just kept at it. And like 3 minutes before the flight, they couldn't find any flimsy excuse to offload her, so they let her go. These are the kind of things that'll piss you off in Southeast Asia, but particularly in the Philippines. Now, Thailand tried this, I don't know, decades ago, because Thailand likes to bully people as well. And the Thai people said, no, ain't going to fly there, paisano. And pretty quickly, Thailand had to drop it decades ago. Now, Thais are allowed to leave their own country. Okay. Now, in the Philippines, Southeast Asia, all of it, has an overabundance of scammers. Well, okay. So people are poor. I get it. People are poor. Opportunities are few and far between, and they're almost non-existent. I have a friend, he is a guard. He's a higher level guard here in BGC. He works 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. He gets 2 days off a month, non-paid. 12 hours a day, 2 days off a month. His wage is 610 pesos a day. This is 2023. 610 pesos a day. 1,000 pesos is like $18.25, something like that. So whatever 610 pesos is, like $15, something like that. $15 a day, 12 hours a day, 2 days off. A month, unpaid. Tough to get ahead. I've been trying to feed him some tips and things and tell him about other countries maybe he can get into. I think so far he thinks the stories are fake. I showed him the wage for a security guard in Vancouver, BC. It was, I think, $18.80 an hour, $18.80 US an hour, which is, 3 times what he makes in a day. I showed him that on the official website, and I think he thinks it's just a trick. It's not real. So Southeast Asians tend to look for scams. They look for ways to scam. All the Southeast Asian people scam. They try to. I believe in the Philippines the incidence per capita of scammers is higher than any country I've lived in. In Thailand, it's pretty stinking high. In Philippines, it's higher. And I think honest Filipinos will tell you this. We're not going to go into scams for this one. This is going to be a long one anyway. You're going to get tired of the scams. You're going to get tired of the scams. Usually, if you're semi-intelligent, you can see them coming pretty far off because they're usually fairly simplistic. They'll start out with hints about money, things like that. I got scammed pretty badly by the agent who rented me the condo I'm in. Fortunately, I had taken a picture of her passport when she wasn't looking and made a website about it. Showed her the website. She still wouldn't pay back the money. I said, okay, you have 1 hour. I'm going to the police in BGC in 1 hour. I got your passport. I got everything. You're operating as an agent without a license. I know where you live. Let's see what happens. And within an hour, she had dropped off a bag with my cash in it. You're gonna get scammed. I don't care how careful you are. I came from federal law enforcement many, many years ago. I thought I knew about scams. No, I did not. You don't either. They're clever and they're inventive. And as Westerners, we have a tendency to kind of, sort of, pretty much, kind of believe people. No. Get that, take that and get it out of your head, because it's bullshit. You don't trust. Not in Southeast Asia, but particularly in the Philippines. I have had more scam attempts in the Philippines than probably than all the other Southeast Asian countries I've lived in put together. That does not mean there aren't good people here. There are. There are really, really, really good people, but there's really, really, really a lot of scammers, more than you can possibly dream of. It's a problem. It's another thing that puts me close to straddling that fence. Now, I am not a lover of the U.S. I left it for quite a few reasons. I wanted to leave it all my life. But it ain't heaven in Southeast Asia either. Food poisoning. When I was growing up in the U.S., I almost never got food poisoning. Restaurants were trusted. People knew how to handle food. In the U.S. now, I was back there last year, I got food poisoning like 5 times, less than a year. Because third world country people are moving into the restaurants, operating restaurants, and they do not know how to handle food, and you cannot tell them. They will not listen, and they will poison you. Okay. In Southeast Asian countries, food poisoning is 10 times worse. And you're going to get food poisoning. You're going to, period. That's all there is to it. Cambodia is the worst place I ever saw for food poisoning. If you eat one meal in Cambodia and don't get poisoned, you're lucky. I got to the point there I wouldn't eat anything that wasn't packaged out of a grocery store or a 7-Eleven. I would eat in no restaurant in Cambodia. Philippines isn't quite that bad, but it's not good. Even in BGC, I have gotten food poisoning here once a month, once every 2 months. And I'm pretty careful about where I eat. Even big name established restaurants will poison you. I'm at the point where I hardly eat out at all anymore. So yeah, the food is great. I mean, I happen to like Filipino food. Nobody else does. I love it. But I'm scared to eat it. Thailand, I got poisoned a lot. I was hospitalized 10 times in Thailand for food poisoning. And lots of other times that I didn't have to be hospitalized, But 10 times It was so bad I was going to die if I didn't get to the hospital, get rehydrated, antibiotics, IV. If I didn't get that, I was going to die. That's all there was to it. One time it essentially shredded my insides, and I was bleeding to death. Couldn't raise my head, couldn't roll over in the bed, ended up in the ER, got 6 units of blood. Took me 6 weeks before I could stand up without holding on to something. Food poisoning. Lack of goods in the Philippines. In any third world or Southeast Asian country, you're going to have a hell of a time getting the things you want to get. I was in Home Depot a while back. Home Depot. Here it's called MC, Home Depot. I needed a pair of pliers. You know what pliers are, right? Just regular old pliers. I didn't want needle nose. I didn't want vice grips. I just wanted regular pliers. Home Depot. Didn't have them. That was months ago. They still don't. Half of the staff rooted around through the entire store for 30 minutes looking for pliers. Didn't have them. Had needle nose. Had vice grips. Didn't have regular pliers of any kind or description. Okay, that's Home Depot, fondly referred to in the U.S. as Home Labyrinth. It's about the same size here. And the pliers. And you're going to run into that almost every day. Get Amazon Prime. Lots and lots of stuff is delivered here to the Philippines. Free shipping. Lots of stuff is duty-free coming in. Pliers might not be, but a lot of stuff is. You can order here through Lazada or Shopee. It's like a Southeast Asian version of Amazon. Something like 20% of the time, you're going to get the wrong item. The item's not going to show up. It's going to break on the first use. It's a nightmare. It's a little shop of horrors trying to buy stuff in Southeast Asian countries, and the Philippines is no different. And even when you do find what you want and it actually is delivered and it's actually the right thing, it's going to be straight out of China and it's going to break. It's really difficult to get stuff anywhere in Southeast Asia. Philippines might actually be a little bit better. In Thailand, I think it was worse. Anything you tried to bring into Thailand from out of the country, the Thai customs would just steal it. I lost 6 big shipments one year, traced them to the Suvarnabhumi Bangkok airport, all disappeared. 6 big shipments of stuff just disappeared. Tried to bring in an iPhone from Amazon. Thai customs stole it. Amazon refunded. But customs never sent it back. Some customs agent probably still using it today. So getting stuff here is really trying. One thing you're going to run into here is, now I walk a lot. I walk between 5 and 10 miles a day, even in the heat, even in the rain. Between 5 and 10 miles, not kilometers, 10 miles, 5 and 10 miles a day, 5 days a week. Filipino pedestrians will walk into you with uncanny regularity. They just walk into you. Some of them are looking at their phones. Some of them are looking right at you. They have a very poor sense of spatial awareness. Just walk into you. And if you're driving, they'll just drive their car into you. Looking right at you. Drive the car into you. You just keep going until they hit you. I have not seen that in any other country in the world except India. India, they'll do that. Just look right at you. Slowly just drive into you, never touch the brakes. Just drive into the side of your car. And then it's your fault. But I don't drive in the Philippines. I won't drive probably ever again in Southeast Asia. I did plenty of driving in other countries. I won't anymore, and not in the Philippines. So my problems are with pedestrians. I got to the point where when I saw them coming on a collision course, on a sidewalk, whatever, I just stopped, because I didn't want to be accused of being the one who ran into them, and they will. So you just stop. You see them coming on a collision course, you just stop. Maybe you got 6 feet left to go, 7 feet left to go, you just stop. I fold my hands in front of me, just stand there. And they'll look right at you and run into you. And in BGC, they're apologetic. They'll say, oh, sorry. Okay, in the rest of Manila or the rest of Philippines, they won't. They'll mumble some cursing thing and stumble off, run into somebody else. And I thought, well, maybe they're doing this just to white people. No, they do it to each other all the time. They just run into each other. It's like a grand game of bumper cars. They just run into you. Or they cut you off. You're walking straight down a main sidewalk, and 5 of them will just cross right in front of you. So you got to stop abruptly, almost fall down. And they're just oblivious that they have caused any inconvenience at all. And they do it in traffic also. So my advice is, in the Philippines, do not drive. Do not drive. Do not drive a car. Do not rent a car. Do not drive. Do not buy a motorcycle or a motorbike. Probably not even a bike. Probably not even an e-scooter. Take taxis. Let them get hit. Use your seatbelt or walk. If you get run into and knocked down, that's better than being hit by something at 30 miles an hour. Just walk. I walk almost everywhere. Even if it takes hours to get there, just walk. Because then it's on me. Then it's my responsibility. Cars will hit you in crosswalks. I've been bumped or brushed 3 times. Less than a year. Let's see, 2 of those times were white people. And you're in the crosswalk and you're with the light and they just come flying on through, bump you, hit you with a mirror, whatever, and they'll stop and lean out and scream curses at you. F them. You run into that a lot. So walking, doesn't solve all of these problems. Walking is better than driving, but Filipinos love to honk. Thailand people don't honk. It's considered rude. In Philippines, it's just what you do. Light turns green, the guy in front of you hesitates 0.7 of a second on that horn. Somebody puts their signal on, they want to change lanes, and you're behind them, and they're not changing that lane as quickly as you think. Honk! That's what they do. Vietnam, it's not quite as bad. It's a close second to Philippines. Vietnam, I filmed a guy one time in Vietnam. He was in a 4-lane boulevard early in the morning, just driving down the boulevard, no cars anywhere for probably 100, 200 yards in front of him, 100, 200 yards behind him, no cars in opposing traffic, no nothing, just not a car anywhere around him. And he's driving down this boulevard in Saigon. Honk, 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 just driving along. He did that for as long as I saw him. It's just a thing. I don't know where it comes from. It's some kind of short circuit in the brain. Philippines is worse than any country I've seen, with Vietnam being a close second for honking. They just honk. Now, BGC, if you're thinking about BGC in particular, it's a pretty nice place. You look at the other videos we've got on BGC, it's a pretty nice place. There's lots and lots of positive stuff to keep people here. And I'm still here, I'm still here. So what does that tell you? Love it or leave it. I haven't left it yet. There are aspects of it I love. I do genuinely love, I've bashed the Filipino people for part of this whole video, but pretty big part of me loves them. I love certain aspects of their characters. I do. I like them. Genuinely like them. They drive me crazy sometimes. But overall, I generally like them. You can figure that out. I'm still here, so, love it or leave it. I haven't left it. But BGC, in the nighttime, especially on the weekends, becomes a personal racetrack for the Lamborghinis. And there's a million of them here. The really hot Hayabusa motorbikes, straight pipes, Lamborghinis. It becomes a total racetrack. I'm up high enough in my condo that it's not really a big problem. Close the windows, turn on the AC, I run some fans. It's not that big of a problem. But for people on the lower levels, God help them. I have not once seen any Filipino cop pull over any vehicle in BGC for doing anything, ever, not once. And think about that. I walk 5 to 10 miles a day. If anybody was going to see it, I would see it. I have not once yet seen it. And I think people know this, especially the foreigners, the Europeans, with really super hot cars. And it's just a racetrack. They will literally turn certain blocks into race circuits and race around and around and around the condos all night at incredible speeds, making incredible noise. Okay, just factor that in. I've just given you stuff to factor in. You've gotten most of the good stuff. You've gotten a lot of good stuff in the previous videos. And I'll give you lots more good stuff too. But factor this stuff in. It's a balanced scale. Which side of the scale is getting heavier. Okay. Dogs. There's dogs. There's dogs. There's dogs. The dogs in VGC are pretty well taken care of. Not fed necessarily, but the troublemakers are ushered on out. Not too many troublemaking dogs. On the periphery, you'll see some dogs that aren't really too nice. But in the center of BGC, no, they get them out. They get them out. That's a good thing. But in Manila, there's dogs and there's dogs. In Thailand, we call them soy dogs. Half of them were rabid. They bite you just because it's fun. They're assholes, I'm sorry. VGC has cats. Really has cats. Really has cats. And that's fine with me because I love the cats. They're friendly cats. If you're sitting on a bench, they'll come and jump up in your lap and want to be petted. I pet them. There's signs all over the place put up by BGC admins saying, "Don't pet the cats." Some of them say, "Don't pet the cats because they need their privacy." What? What the hell does that mean? They need their privacy. If they want to be private, they're not going to jump up on your lap and nuzzle you. So far, I have not had a problem with the guard while I was petting the cat. I expect to someday. Cats in BGC are well fed, well taken care of. There's a volunteer group. In fact, I plan to meet with them pretty soon, take some pictures, see if I can get arrested for taking a picture of a cat. Probably can. Probably will happen. I'll document it right here. The point is that being fed well, they're healthy, they're clean, they have the energy to take care of themselves, they are not diseased. If they are diseased, they go to the vet. It's a fun place to be if you're a cat, and it's a fun place to be if you're a cat lover. So that's a very big positive for me. If you're a cat hater, I don't know. Maybe BGC is, shouldn't be on your itinerary. I don't know. A lot of shopkeepers are racist. You watch them when you walk into a shop. You watch them look up, see who tinkled that bell. If they see it's a white person, you can see their shoulders slump. And they look down. Any twinkle in their eye is gone. They don't want to deal with white people. And that's not without good reason. Lots and lots of Westerners are assholes. In the first place, they don't understand the Filipinos. They're speaking English, but their accent is so heavy that you really can't understand them. And the reason for that is that they were taught English really pretty well, but they were taught by Filipino teachers with heavy accents. So they were taught to perpetuate the Filipino accent. Well, Filipinos probably can understand Filipino English really, really well, but Westerners cannot. I cannot understand Filipinos well at all. I can't count the restaurants I've left because I could not communicate with them to order what I wanted. It's a big problem. So, shopkeepers being racist, well, I don't know what is racist. I mean, they don't want to deal with people they can't communicate with. They don't want to deal with people who are bitchy and difficult. Is that racist? I don't know. I don't think so. It just means they don't want to deal with people who are difficult. I don't blame them. I try very hard to make the shopkeeper's experience with me nice and pleasant and happy. I try hard, but they really don't want you to be there. Not all of them, but a very great deal of them. I'm thinking 70% really would prefer you didn't come into their shop. They want your money, but they don't want the problems. A lot of European white people are really, really problematic. And I'm not going to get into nationalities, although I can, and I have in other tapes that are not suitable for YouTube. YouTube, we're scared to tell you the truth. We're scared to tell you reality because we don't know what's going to get us banned. Hate speech. Oh my God. So I'm not going to give you nationalities on YouTube. And that's to your detriment. And I think to YouTube's detriment too, because people are scared to speak truth or even opinion. But that's the way YouTube wants it. And it's their server. So you appease it, you love it or you leave it, you know. So far I haven't left it, but I might. You're going to have, I've got a whole series on Retire Southeast Asia. Go there. I talk in some depth about romantic things. Lots and lots of guys come to Southeast Asia. They want to find a girlfriend, want to find a wife. I recommend if you want to mess around, have a lot of meaningless sex. And that's what it is. It's as meaningless as it gets. It's cotton candy. Go to Thailand. If you want to find a meaningful relationship, maybe a wife, Philippines. The Christian church, whether you're Christian or not, I don't care. The Christian church has given them some functional stability. And it helps a lot. But it's still going to be really, really hard. There are some techniques to find higher quality Filipino mates, and I'll go into that at some in one of these podcasts on this channel, on the 10 Bears channel, where everything now is going on the 10 Bears travel channel now. It's all sanitized for your safety on YouTube. Makes me kind of want to barf up, but anyway, that's the way it is. I still may in the future. I may do some more reality-oriented. Well, I probably will almost certainly. Some more reality-oriented videos, but I'll have to put them on my server only at stockphotosworldwide.com because they won't be suitable for YouTube. It's very sad that you can't get real down-to-earth information that you need on YouTube because they're so terrified of alienating their advertisers. They're snowflake millennial advertisers. They're so terrified of bothering those people that. Okay. You're gonna find it hard to find deep conversations in any Southeast Asia country, any of them, even in Singapore, even in Hong Kong. The culture is a chasm. It's not a divide, it's a chasm. It's humongous. Culture is, Mark Twain, pretty sure it was him. East is east and west is west, and never the twains shall meet. Means trains. In those days it meant trains. I don't know what the hell. The culture will keep you from having deep conversations, even if the other person is perfectly fluent in English. Their thought processes are different. Their brains are hardwired in different ways from the Western notions of things. The language makes it that much harder. Their life experiences makes it that much harder. Is it going to be impossible to find a truly deep philosophical conversation? I'm going to say it would be so close to impossible that it might very well be impossible. You get different levels of it. But, I was married for 40 years in the U.S. We could talk at any level, deep as you want to go. And it wasn't about education. It was just about shared culture and language. Any Southeast Asia country, no, it's not. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. No, that's not true. I know one guy. Met a Thai girl, married her. Swore he'd never get married. Met this one, married her. Happily ever after, apparently. And I've read a lot of the stuff she's written, and she is as sharp as they get. And she's fully Thai, born and raised. So I take back. I said impossible. I take it back. No, next to impossible. Like that close to. Can you see? Is there a gap in there? That close to impossible. Okay. All right. English spoken in Philippines. They say, English is widely spoken in the Philippines. Well, yeah, technically it is, but you won't understand it, and they won't understand you. They're saying the words. They know what the words to use are, and they're saying them. You just won't understand them. They don't need necessarily English training. They need pronunciation training. I cannot communicate well with Filipinos. I learned a little bit of Thai in a decade, and I pouring water on a rock, not too much of it went in, but I learned enough that I could be sort of conversational. So, if a Thai had any English knowledge, and with my limited Thai language knowledge, I could communicate somewhat. But Filipino English is technically English, but I dare you to understand it. And they can't understand you because they think you have a really weird accent, even though you have no accent at all. Traveling in the Philippines, anywhere in Southeast Asia, it's going to drive you freaking nuts. But you do it anyway because you're going to see cool things. The trick is you back up. You got a trip in mind. You make some plans. Yeah, you plan. But you expect 70% of those plans to go to hell. And when they do, you just smile and you make more plans. Relax. Just relax. Earthquakes. Philippines gets a lot of earthquakes. We haven't had one for a while here in BGC, but we used to for a while. We were getting them pretty regularly. I had a number of them happen when I was on camera. The camera's starting to do this, So far here, the ones I've experienced have been the jello types. They sort of make you dizzy and make you want to throw up, but there's none of this jerking, jolting shit that I don't really like. I haven't lost anything off my shelves yet, I don't think. And And I got a lot of expensive stuff up there. I got to move it down. I just realized that. I got really expensive cameras sitting, 5 feet above the floor on shelves. That's got to stop. That shit's got to stop. Southern Philippines gets earthquakes way, way, way more. You get down around Davao, Mindanao. Oh my God. Oh my God. I knew a guy down there. I think he was outside of Davao. Big earthquake hit. He got thrown across his home, clear across the home, from one side to the other. Hit the other side so hard that it broke his shoulder just from hitting the wall on the other side. That's not really a good thing. I don't know. Maybe you should have seat belts at night or something. I don't know. Manila can get big ones. We got, let's see. I was flying through here last year, I guess. There was an 8.5. I don't know, big one. But not nearly as often as the South. Everybody expects, like LA, we're expecting the Philippines to drop into the sea. Could happen. I don't know. So, factor that in. If you're scared of earthquakes, maybe the Philippines is not a good place. Mainland Southeast Asia does not seem to get them hardly at all. Vietnam gets them. Philippines gets them a lot. Philippines is right there, hanging on the edge of the ring of fire. Volcanoes and pestilence and, locusts and shit like that. Whatever. I don't really care. I've been around long enough. I don't care. I recommend you do not start a business in the Philippines or anywhere in Southeast Asia. I recommend you do not put it out of your head. No, do not come here with the idea you're going to make money. People here don't have money. Philippines particularly does not want you to have a business. I have a quasi friend who is an immigration attorney. I inquired to her pretty extensively about setting up a business. She said, just don't do it. Just don't do it. The Philippines will make it so difficult. They will throw out every roadblock. They don't want you to make a business. They want Filipinos to make a business. They don't want you to compete with them. Well, it makes perfect sense. America could learn something from that. Of course, they won't, but they could. They should. I recommend do not even remotely think about a business in the Philippines. You want to have some little thing going, finance it, fund it, give it to your girlfriend, maybe your wife. I don't know how the legalities of that are, but just give it to your girlfriend. Let her do it. Watch. Be entertained. Enjoy. Do not get involved yourself. Do not. That's my advice. In anywhere in Southeast Asia, some countries you can do it more easily, more legally than other countries. Philippines, it's really, really difficult to set up a legal business. You can do it. I recommend don't do it. I was in Romania, Ukraine last year. Romanians are begging people to come, foreigners, begging them to come and set up a business. I really thought about going back into photography in Romania. I'm still thinking about it because they want so badly for me to come there and set up a business, and they'll give me a free visa forever and ever and ever. I can retire there. Cold is the only thing. It's stinking cold. When you get really, really old, like me, like 100, the cold becomes more and more problematic. And especially I've been, over a decade in Southeast Asia. My thermostat is reset. It gets below 80, I'm shivering. I'm looking for my coat. Below 80, that's no. We don't do below 80. Okay, I'm going down my list here. Ordering food. I've mentioned this already. I end up leaving lots and lots of restaurants because I can't get through what I want to order. Even pointing at the menu, look, I want this pizza, and their counter with something. Well, I'm sorry, I don't understand. I want this pizza. Look the picture. Look the picture. I want this size. I want this pizza. I only want that. I don't want another thing. I'm sorry. Slowly. Can you try again? Repeat, please. I'm sorry. I don't know what you're saying. I look at the picture. Look. Here's the menu. This is what I want. Look at this picture. I want one. And after about 5, 6 times, I just walk out. Sometimes I'll ask, can I speak to somebody else? Does somebody else have English? Well, that insults them because they know they're speaking English, and they are. You just can't understand the words. So ordering from restaurants is stressful, I'm sorry. Medical care, people, get to be 100 like me. Medical care gets to be a concern. I was in St. Luke's Hospital recently, 3 days. I'm going to do a full review on it. It's going to show up right here on this channel, whatever this channel is. We got so many channels, I forget. This is the 10 Bears Travel channel. Okay, it's going to show up right here. Full review on St. Luke's Hospital. Medical care in Philippines is kind of okay for normal-ish kinds of things. If you need some real tricky heart thing, maybe you go into San Francisco, Just wait for the review on St. Luke's Hospital. St. Luke's is like possibly the premier hospital in Philippines. There was good and bad. Wait for the review. You'll see. Yeah. It's okay. It wasn't horrible. About as good as Thailand. Wait for the review. Okay. There's not much here that's cutting edge. It's just basic, country doctor kind of stuff. I got some good stories about Filipino medical care. It's oh my God. Okay. You'll find that Filipinos follow rules set up by the government. They will follow any rule the government puts out, and they will defend that rule no matter how crazy it is. The Filipinos are still wearing masks. This is September 2023. They're still wearing COVID masks. Every day we live in fear of lockdowns again. For the rest of the world, it's over. Been over for, what, a year? 2 years in some places? Over, done. It's gone. It's the flu. It's a freaking flu, okay? It's the flu. I've had it twice. It's the flu. Incidentally, I was traveling a lot during COVID, so I kept having to get more vaccines and more vaccines. I think I had 7 total. A friend of mine in Romania, we got COVID on the same day from the same person, so it was the same strain, or same age, same basic medical history. We could have been twins. We often say we should have been. I had 7 vaccines. He had none. We had exactly the same symptoms, exactly the same severity, for exactly the same period of time, 33 days for both of us. Vaccines did nothing for me. Nothing. I don't want any more. God knows what damage they did to me. 7 of every type. But the Filipinos, whatever the government says or wishes or thinks, the government says jump and the Filipinos say how high. Well, that's a good thing in a way, because it tends to maintain a more orderly society. But it's a bad thing in a way, because when the government says stupid shit, nonsensical, irrational things, and the Filipinos act upon it, that helps to break down that society. So it's a double-edged sword. Taxis. Don't take taxis. The Philippines, well, any Southeast Asian country, there are more scammers in Philippines driving taxis than any country I've been in. Thailand is really, really bad for it. Philippines is worse. It's worse. I think Uber is gone. I'm not sure. Grab. They have Grab in Manila. There might be some others. I think there's 1 or 2 others. I'm not sure. But I've used Grab with perfect results. Perfect results. No problems. Grab taxi. Put the app on your phone. Get the Filipino app, not another app. Only the Filipino app. Get plugged into it. Plug your credit card into it or pay cash. Either one. Grab taxi. Only Grab taxi. Or if there's another one that's good fine, but not a regular independent taxi. Do not. And I used to think they only scammed Westerners. No, they scammed their own people exactly as much. Taxis in Southeast Asia, but particularly in Philippines, are evil. Okay? Four-letter word, evil. Period. That's all there is to it. Don't get in one. Don't do it. Hoy. I cannot stress that enough. A lot of people come to the Philippines, they want a long-term visa. I know people who come here, never been here before. They just have it in their head that Philippines is the place for them, and that's all there is to it. They're going to live out their lives, and they get a thing called an SRRV visa. Actually, it's technically an SRR visa. It's a long-term visa. You got to put 10, depending on the type you want, between 10 and 20 grand USD. You got to put it in the bank, in a Filipino bank, in a government bank, and it gives you an annual visa with some perks. And it's fine and well, except if you decide you don't like it and you want to leave, then God help you. Not in every case, but in plenty of cases. Now, years ago, I thought about getting an SRRV visa for the Philippines. And I did some research on it, and I started learning that lots and lots and lots of guys who had one and then decided they wanted to leave the Philippines couldn't get their 10 or 20 grand back, no matter how hard they fought. And they ended up leaving the Philippines, losing the money. They just never could get it back from the government bank. And I thought, oh, well, that's crap. And then I came back this time, 10 years later, and I was talking to an immigration attorney, and she said, well, why don't you just get an SRRV? And I said, well, I've heard all these stories years ago about all the problems that guys had trying to get their money back when they wanted to leave the Philippines and they couldn't get their money back. And she said, oh, I never heard of anything like that. I'm an immigration attorney. I do these all day long, and I've never heard of any problem getting their money back. Never in all my years. And I said, well, geez, I don't know. I must have, all the 20 or 30 reports that I dug up years ago, they must have each and every one been an anomaly, right? And she said, oh, I don't know. Maybe people are just lying. I don't know. And I thought, okay, well, maybe they were. I don't know. Who am I? I don't know. I didn't know them personally. Okay, since I've been here, I know two people who have gotten the SRR. They got it right on arrival because they were positive they wanted to stay in the Philippines forever and ever. And they didn't want to deal with all kinds of tourist visas and stuff like that. So they got the SRRV. One put in 10 grand, one put in 20 grand. Both of them were here less than, I think, 5 months before they decided, no, this ain't the place for me. I want out. And they thought, well, they just go to the bank and they cancel their SRRV and they get their money back, and then they go to another country, or they go on to a temporary tourist visa or something like that. Both of them now have been waiting, 5 months. They both started about the same time. That was about 5 months ago. Neither of them has their money back yet. One of them, the bank wouldn't even talk to him unless they could hold his passport. So he gave him the passport. Well, it's gone. It's somewhere. First that bank tried to tell him, well, you never deposited anything. Well, fortunately, he had the receipts and the deposit slips, and they said, oh, okay, well, yeah, I guess you did deposit the 10 grand, but we don't know where it is. Okay, so that's 5 months now. He's been fighting this. He hasn't had a passport for 5 months. Even if he wants to abandon the 10 grand and just leave the country, he can't, because they have this passport and they don't know where it is. So now he has gone to an attorney to try to get his money back. SRRV. Okay, if you think you got to have the SRRV, spend 2 years here on tourist visas. You can spend 36 months here on a tourist visa, and even then it's renewable. You go out of the country and come back after a day, and you get another 36 months. But Spend 2 years. Do not get an SRRV until you've tried the place for 2 full years. That'll tell you. That'll tell you if you truly want to retire here and you want to invest the 10 or 20 grand. Lots of guys, they get the SRRV and they're happy. They stay here for the rest of their lives, I guess, or they decide they want to leave. They go to the bank, and a few days or a week, they got their money back. Everything's just fine. Everybody's happy. But lots of guys don't. And I don't know why that attorney has never heard of that. She said she'd never heard of any problem. Well, I know 2 of them right now, and I don't know anybody. I don't associate with expats. I left the U.S. because I didn't want to be around Westerners. I didn't want to know them. I like Southeast Asian people, period. I'm sorry, I do. With all their foibles and all their problems, I prefer the company of Southeast Asians. I'm sorry. So even though I don't know anybody, I still know 2 guys who can't get their money back off of SRRVs, and that makes me believe that all those stories I dredged up a decade ago were probably true. The guys couldn't get their money back. Okay. Plenty of unhealthy food choices here. If you have any kind of gastric problems, if you are lactose intolerant, or you have celiac, or you have a gluten problem, or whatever, God help you. God help you. The other day I wanted to try some, what was it? Oh, gluten-free bread. I wanted to just find some and try it. I went to 6 bakeries. Not one of them knew what it was. Not one of them had sourdough bread. No, I'm sorry, one of them did. They had sourdough made with wheat. Most places have never heard of a keto diet. The Filipino food is notorious for being unspeakably unhealthy. I don't really care. I like it anyway. I can live on McDonald's. I don't care. But if you have a finicky stomach, and the older I get, the more finicky mine's getting, you're going to be hard put to get the food you need or want. The prices are going to be really, really high. I went and got a lactose-free candy bar the other day, chocolate bar. Just because I didn't need it to be lactose-free. I just liked the look of it and the sound of it. It sounded like it might be tasty, so I bought it. Didn't really look, paid with a card. Later, I looked at the receipt. It was $7.80 for one small chocolate bar, lactose-free. Just happened to be lactose-free. I didn't really care, but so, any kind of specialty food is really, really a problem. Really a problem. Be really careful about that before making your decision to spend any amount of time here. Scammer real estate agents. The place is overflowing with scammer real estate agents. I mentioned the one that stole my money, and I had to threaten her with the police within 1 hour to get my money back. And that was at the end of 2 months of fighting with her to get the money back. She just disappeared for 6 weeks, and then she showed up again. Probably thought I forgot about it. No, I didn't forget about it. Had to make the website about her, show her the website. Threatened to go to the police. I threatened to go to the police many, many times. She didn't care. I finally said, okay, I'm in downtown BGC. I'm a block from the police station. I'm going to be there at such and such a time. And I'm going to fill out a full criminal report against you because you've stolen my money, several $100s. And within an hour, the money showed up. But that's really a rare case. Most of the time, you're never going to see the money. All of Southeast Asia, I've alluded to this all the way through. Their logic is different than Western logic. I don't know. It's easy to say Southeast Asian logic is inferior to Western logic, but Western logic is pretty cracked in and of itself. They just do strange things here that I don't understand. Just because I don't understand them doesn't mean that they're necessarily wrong. In my building, all the mailboxes for all the condos are located behind the security desk, which is staffed with multiple guards 24/7. You can't get to the mailboxes without going through the guards. But as of a few months ago, now, if we go to our box and we want to take out, let's say, a letter from our mom, we got to sign for it. You can't just take the letter and go away. No, you got to sign for every piece of mail in your box, in your own box, even though nobody could have stole it because the guards are right there. So that's just another piece of the sort of militant, rules-based Filipino mentality that doesn't really fit with Western logic. Another thing they've instituted all through Philippines and BGC especially is you cannot pay. Okay, like I've got 3 internet accounts, one for a phone, one for home Wi-Fi, and one for a, what do you call it? It's a pocket Wi-Fi box thing that I can carry around. Each one is a different account. I have to pay for each one separately every month. It would be just a snap. They all come from the same carrier. It would be a snap to just log onto the website, say, okay, I want to pay this one, I want to pay this one, I want to pay this one. You already got my credit card in your system. Click pay. Done. No. None of the major utilities will accept foreign credit cards for monthly payments. Now, when I bought all the equipment to set all this stuff up, they accepted my foreign credit cards just fine, multiple different ones. But to make the monthly payments, no, they won't accept them. Not to pay the electric, not to pay the water, not to pay internet, not to pay any other utility, not to pay any major thing. They will not accept foreign credit cards, Visa, MasterCard, Amex, nothing. They won't accept it. So each month for my 3 accounts, if you get a Philippines bank account, you can get a Philippines card. You won't get a credit card. You'll get a debit card. Yeah, put some money in there and you can use that to pay these accounts. Now, good luck getting a Philippines bank account. I've been to 4 banks. None of them will give me a Philippines bank account. There's no standardization between any of the bank branches. Nothing. They either decide to or they won't. All of them so far have been unspeakably rude. Unspeakably rude. To the point where you just want to walk out. If you don't have a Philippines bank account, here's what you do. All of these places, water, electric, all the internet companies, all of them, they will accept payments through 7-Eleven. You can't just take the bill to 7-Eleven, put it down, and pay for it like you can in Thailand or most other countries. You have to go through a 7-Eleven app called Click. So you get the bill in your email. You got to go to the 7-Eleven Click app, and you got to input all the account number, the amount, your name, all the stuff into the Click app. Then it spits out a QR code. Okay, that's for one account. And then you do the same thing for the next account, and you do the same thing for the next account. So for me, it's water bill, electric, and 3 internet bills. So it's 5 every month. And I got to do that for each account. And then you take your phone to any 7-Eleven and you show them a picture of the QR code. They scan it. You pay for that one. You pull up the next picture of the QR code and they scan it and you pay for that one. You do that 5 times. I do that 5 times every month. And it's the only way I can find to make payments to the big companies in the Philippines. And it's bullshit. Bullshit. Stupid. Okay. Um, okay. Here's a biggie one. You will have countless people tell you that all Southeast Asian people are lazy bums. They don't want to work. They don't want to be industrious. They don't want to be upwardly mobile. They just want to get by. They don't want to improve themselves. They don't want to improve their homes. They just want to get by. And that's true. Now, the only way I can think of to explain this is I want you to think about something. Okay, if you're from a Western country, you probably came from Northern European background. From, whatever, 10,000 years ago, whatever. That's where your DNA got forged. People with DNA different than yours, they died. People with DNA like yours, they survived. That's why you've got it. Now, that was the Ice Age, and I don't remember 10,000 years, whatever, 12,000, I forget when the Ice Age was. The people from Northern Europe, they were forged in the days of the Ice Age, and life sucked. It sucked in every possible way. You couldn't hardly grow a crop. The saber-tooths were always trying to eat you. Always, it was relentless. Just look the other way and you're frozen to death before you even know it. Now, you had to be one clever turkey to have survived that era. You had to be a good hunter. You couldn't be a shit hunter. You had to be a good, smart, intelligent, clever, resourceful, relentless hunter to go out there and kill stuff, to eat its flesh or die. That's how it was for you. You had to plan ahead. Maybe you got 3 months of summer, and you better get out there and gather as many twigs as you can, because come about September 1st, it was going to be frozen over again. And if you didn't have a bunch of twigs to keep you warm, you're going to die, and your kids are going to die, and your cat's going to die. Well, that's not a bad thing. You can eat the cat. So you had to be clever. You had to be thinking ahead. You had to be on your toes. You had to be resourceful. You had to be just moving all the time, or you died. The people who were not thinking and moving all the time, they did die. They're all dead. They're gone. You're only here because your people didn't die. They were resourceful and active and smart. Okay. Now, Southeast Asia pretty much always been warm. There's fruit and fish everywhere. Wasn't any winter to speak of. Never snowed. So you just lived there. You never had to get firewood. You never had to plan. You never had to worry about the saber-tooth. You get a little bit hungry, you go eat some fruit. That was really hard, you stand up on your tiptoes and you pluck it off the tree, or you walk over to the pond or the creek and you get some fish, That's it. That's all it took. Okay. The DNA that could do that survived. Didn't have to be any other kind of DNA. It didn't have to be a DNA that planned ahead. It wasn't required. So the people in Southeast Asia today, they come from people who never had to plan or be overly clever. Now, Southeast Asia today, people are like that. They just go along in life. It doesn't mean they're bad. It doesn't mean they're lazy. It just means that's their background. Now you come from a place where only the movers and the doers survived. So you come to a place where there aren't a lot of movers and doers, and you think, oh, they're lazy. No, they just are what they are. So when you look around Southeast Asia and you see people just living in huts and not being really productive and not really care, they're happy with their life pretty much, raising their kids and eating papaya, coconuts, fish. It's just who they are. It doesn't mean they're bad. It just means that's who they are. So the Westerners will come here, and I see it all the time. It pisses me off. I'm sorry, pisses me off. Oh, can I say that on YouTube? Yeah, F them. The Westerners, the Northern Europeans, the Westerners will just mercilessly bash Southeast Asians because they aren't acting in ways that Westerners think they ought to. Well, if you're a Westerner and you want to act a certain way, knock yourself out. Don't expect other people to do it. It's not your business. It's not your home. You walk into somebody else's home where you're a guest and you walk into the bedroom and say, hey, little kid, make that bed. No, if I'm the homeowner, I'm going to knock you alongside the head and throw you out. Not your business. Not your problem. You don't agree with things you see? You can gently, politely suggest some things that might materially help people be more comfortable or survive longer. If they don't pick it up, let it go. It's not your business. It's not your home. So it bugs me when Westerners come here, start bitching and whining and griping about lazy Southeast Asian people. Well, go home. Don't like it, go home. Another thing that I have found interesting is that in the U.S., let's say we go to the bank and we want to do some transaction at the bank. I was in Chase Bank a year ago in the U.S. I wanted to get I wanted to trade a bunch of USD for pesos because I wanted to bring in a bunch of pesos to Philippines. Turns out you're not supposed to, but I did it. Usually it's a pretty small charge to change money, a few percent. I went to Chase Bank, where I indirectly have a business account there. And I want to change, a few $1,000, something like that. And I was expecting, what I did. I didn't even know what I was expecting. I change in the airport money changers all the time, and it's a few percent. It's nothing. It's a tiny, tiny fee. Nothing that ever bothered me. Well, Chase Bank charged me just under 13%. Chase Bank, 13%, or just under 12.78 or something percent, something like that. It was insane. Okay, what did I do? I bashed the living hell out of Chase Bank. I badmouthed them forever, and I will continue to forever. That was highway robbery. Chase Bank. F them. F Chase Bank. F them to hell. I'll never deal with them again. Ever. Highway robbery. Theft. It's a scam. Okay. Chase Bank. Okay, got it? Chase Bank. Now, if I was in the Philippines or some other Southeast Asian country or probably any other country on earth, and I went to a bank and I wanted to change some money, and that bank charged me 12.7% to change money, what would I do? I'd bash them. I'd verbally bash them mercilessly. Who would I bash? Let's say it happened in the Philippines. Who would I bash? I wouldn't bash that bank. I'd bash Filipinos. Filipinos, rip me out. Bastards, sons of bitches. Oh, that's ridiculous. That's terrible. Oh, the Filipinos are bad. Oh, no. It was the bank. It was that bank that did it. It wasn't all Filipinos. It was that bank. So we have this weird thing. In our home country, we bash more or less the right people who screwed us over or did some bad thing to us. In other countries, we bash the entire nation. We don't differentiate. So you'll see people go all over Southeast Asia and have bad experiences with this or that or whatever. And they just bash, oh, Vietnam, oh, I hate Vietnam. That bank really screwed me over. No, Vietnam didn't screw you over. The bank did, whatever. So use some common sense when you go bashing. It's okay to bash things and bad people and bad businesses and whatever. But be specific. Bash the right people, not all the people. That's a big mistake that people make. You see these guys come to the Philippines or any other foreign country, Southeast Asian country, and they bash the Philippines. They bash this, they bash that. It's a horrible place. Well, take all your experiences together. Maybe it's a horrible place, maybe it's not. But bash the specifically bad people, not use a broad brush to wipe the entire nation. Be careful who you bash, okay? I mentioned about trying to buy stuff here. I'm just going to hit it briefly again because it's a really big problem. It's difficult to buy anything here. Almost everything you get is going to be from China. In the U.S., you get a lot of stuff from China. If it's really bad stuff from China, the U.S. distributors, the retailers, will stop carrying it. If it's really worthless shit, junk that's just going to fall apart and fail, they will stop carrying it. In Southeast Asia, they don't stop carrying it. So let's say there's a particular product out there, it's from China, and it's crap, and it's shit, and it's not going to work for even 1 day or 2 days. They're just going to keep selling it forever and ever and ever. They won't stop ordering it from China. So the point is that the stuff you're going to get in Southeast Asia from China is going to be 10 times worse than the stuff you get in the United States from China. It's not going to be the same Chinese stuff. The Chinese stuff in America is going to be junk. Crap, it's going to fall apart. It's going to fail. It's going to be worthless. It might not work 1 day. Okay, in Southeast Asia, it's going to be 10, 15, 18 times worse than the bad Chinese stuff you get in the US or Germany or whatever. Hard to get stuff here. Hard to get stuff here. It just is. So suck that up. Deal with it or decide you don't want to deal with it. If you don't, then there's other countries. Okay, a few suggestions. We're going to wrap this turkey up. Do not drive. That's my suggestion. Do not drive. I suggest do not drive in any Southeast Asian country. Do not. Thailand had they used to advertise they were number 2 most dangerous country in the world to drive in. Finally, some independent researchers came in and drilled down through the books, found out that the Thai government was just cooking the books, and they were really number 1 most dangerous place to drive in the world. I crisscrossed Thailand, I don't know how many times, north to south and east to west on motorbikes and in cars. Had one fender bender, hundreds of really close calls. I'm alive. I survived Thailand partly because of skill. I had a couple 100,000 motorcycle miles in other countries, and that skill paid off. But it was also very much luck. Lots of situations where any amount of skill I had would not have saved me. It was just luck. Just luck. Luck that I survived. all the Southeast Asian countries are about the same. I mean, Thailand, technically, the most dangerous. Philippines maybe is number 2. I don't know. Don't drive. Just don't drive in Southeast Asia. That's my suggestion. Lots of people do. My suggestion. That's my personal choice. Don't. If you can arrange your life not to drive, then don't drive. You can hire drivers here. If you want a dedicated full-time driver and you got any money at all, just hire one. Find one that lives a few blocks away. Every time you call him, he shows up in 5 minutes. You know, don't drive. Don't ever try to own a business. Just don't do it. In any Southeast Asia country, people do it. Some of them make money. Those are the exceptions. The headaches are going to drive you insane. If you're coming here to retire, you don't want the crap headaches. You just want to have a nice life. Don't open up a whole can of rotten sardines. Just live on what you have. Relax. Really, it's time to relax. If you're 50 and above, time to relax, reflect. Peace. Meditate. I suggest do not buy a car, do not buy a motorbike. I don't know how many cars, motorbikes I owned in Thailand. I don't know, a couple of dozen, probably. Southeast Asia, I recommend don't own one. Maybe an e-scooter, maybe. That's about it. Do not buy land or a home. That's my advice. Do not. Just rent. Because if things go south, you will play hell selling your land and or home. Just don't do it. You don't need or want the headaches. Just rent. Just rent. I recommend do not buy a condo. They're hard to sell. They're notoriously hard to sell. Rent or lease. I recommend do not collect a lot of crap. In Thailand, I had a 5-story double shop. 5-level double shop. It was full. From the bottom to the top to the roof. I collected shit. I bought shit. I collected dump truck loads of shit. And when I finally had enough of Thailand, it was so difficult to leave. It took me about a year to sell off. I'd say 80% of that crap. The rest of it I left. Don't collect shit. Keep your life simple, easy, free and easy, light. Travel light, live light. You might want to change countries at a moment's notice. You can only take so much crap in your suitcases. And when you're trying to ship stuff around between Southeast Asian countries, it's really, really common that it just goes missing. Customs will steal it, or the shippers will steal it. Jeez. Do not invest in long-term visa schemes or scams in any country. Thailand now is... They think there's money to be had in these really super long-term visas. They're crap. They're crap. I can't think of the name of the big popular one in Thailand right now. It's crap. It's crap. It's crap. It's crap. Pay a lot of money, you don't get diddly. Just get the simplest visa you can. Make sure you can renew it reliably. Because if you want to leave, you want to leave. Do not count on making great friends in Southeast Asia. You might. I would say the place that has the greatest likelihood of that would be the Philippines. Because as I've said, the Philippines is a halfway house between Western culture and Southeast Asian country. It's kind of the cheater's place to get introduced to Southeast Asia. It's okay. When I came to Southeast Asia, I didn't want to go halfway. I wanted to go all the way. I wanted to see the most exotic crap there was on earth. I had just lost my wife, had a lot of money. I just wanted to see how exotic is exotic, and I saw it. Oh God, did I see it. Philippines is pretty, what's the word? Pretty nice, pretty respectable, halfway between Western culture and Southeast Asian culture. I mean, it is Southeast Asia, but it's an introductory place. Go to Philippines first. See how you like the whole Southeast Asian flavor. If you want more of it, go to Laos, go to Vietnam. If you really want to get weird, go to Burma, which is a place that there are some reasons I like it there. It has some perks. One wouldn't think so, but it does. Don't count on making really deep friendships in Southeast Asia. It could happen. It's pretty damn rare. You are seen as the rich Westerner, even if they aren't outwardly asking you for money. They're always going to be wondering, why doesn't he give me some money? He has so much and I have so little. If they're successful in their own right, that problem is largely going to go away. But there are very few really successful people in Southeast Asia. Very few people have money on the level that you have it. And they're always going to see you as somebody maybe who can help them out. Things get tough. And that's, this way lies madness. Don't go that way. Don't get into deals with friends. Don't loan money. Don't, just try to make out that you barely getting by yourself. Don't flaunt anything at all. You don't want people knowing you have money. One of the trends in Southeast Asia now is condos. In the U.S., I was a landlord in the U.S. for a long time. I got 1 month rent and 1 month deposit. Okay? Simple. Easy. That's the way it's been forever and ever and ever. And then in the U.S. and around the world, they started getting this idea, well, you should have 1 month's rent plus 1 month damage deposit plus last month's rent, first and last. Okay, so that's 3 months to move in. That's crap. That's crap. But that's pretty much the world standard now. In Southeast Asia, you're going to find that a lot of landlords are going to be demanding 4 months up front, or 5 months up front, or a year up front. Just tell them to F off and walk away. And 98% of the time they'll say, oh, wait, come in. No, we can talk. I tell them first month in deposit, take it or leave it. If they hem-haw, I'm out the door. It's a renter's market, Southeast Asia. It is. Especially if you're a long-term renter. Lots of vacation people, they don't want them. They don't want to deal with it. They're going to, every time they change a tenant, they're going to lose a month or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. They want long-term. And you can, to a very great degree, you can name your terms. If they don't like it, walk. This whole 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months bullshit is just bullshit. It's just greed and stupidity. Try to deal, if you're going to rent Southeast Asia, try really, really hard to deal only with the owner, not with an agent. Agents are just the leeches. God, try to deal with an owner who speaks your language, hopefully comes from your country. Things are going to be 10,000 times easier. Okay, this is my last thing here. God, this one is running really, really long. It's all stuff. And this is only a small part of what needs to be said, but I've got to do this because it has to be included in this podcast. I've got a friend, Philippines. He, for many, 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 many years now, he has been feeding, I think, around 130 kids. They live in the jungle. Half of them are homeless. They were dropped off there by their parents. They live in sheds and under tarps. I'm not going to say where. I'm not going to give his name. He gets donations. He feeds them 3 times a day. They have zero money. None of their parents have work. There is no welfare in the Philippines. These people will die. They die. And they do. They still do, even with his food. They die. There's no medical, there's nothing. They'll die, and I've seen this. Okay. He has been selflessly, relentlessly doing this for many, many years. He has quite a few helpers. Lots of people donate food. I'm due to go up there pretty soon and do a photo shoot. He sent me a story. And I think probably the best way is I just read this thing. I just read what he sent, and maybe I'll comment in here or not. So this is his story, sent to me just recently. He says, we have many confrontations with parents each week when they go out there and feed, because Filipinos can be problematic for no apparent logical reason. So he's out there feeding the kids when they can't, but they'll cause him grief. They just make stuff up and cause grief and be argumentative and problematic. Why? Well, Filipinos seem to have a penchant for this, and other countries do too. I've seen it in Thailand also. Look, a gift horse in the mouth. He says they have so many problems with the parents, if the parents are there at all. He said 3 days ago it got surreal, even for him, after all his years of doing this. He said he arrived at one of the feeding locations, and some of the helpers arrived 5 minutes later, and they all waited for the truck to arrive with the food so they could start to distribute it amongst the kids. And they show up at the same time every day, and the kids, 100 or 130 of them, or however many, will all just show up because they know it's feeding time. He was standing there saying hello to the kids, because they all crowd around you and hang on you. You know, they're really friendly. I love Southeast Asian kids. I do not love Western kids. I'm sorry, I don't. I don't like them. I love Southeast Asian kids. I do. I'm on their wavelength. I love them to death. He was standing there saying hello to the kids. He felt a slight bump on the back of his calf. He turned around. There was an 18-month-old toddler who had bumped into his calf and toppled over behind him. His sister of the little kid, was there. She stepped up and immediately stood the baby up. The baby cried for about 20 seconds because he had fallen down. They checked his head and body for injury, although nobody was expecting any injury. You know, he's an 18-month-old toddler. How far can he fall into the dirt, you know? They couldn't see any injuries at all, no scratches, no nothing. The sister brushed the dirt off his back, and nobody thought anything more about it. 18-month-old toddlers running around fall down. That's just life. It's called life. No rocks there, nothing he could hit his head on. It's just dirt. They say 10 minutes later, an irate mother arrived and accused him of running over the baby with his motorbike. Okay, grasp that. Grasp the insanity of that. It's common in Southeast Asia. I have seen this in Thailand. It's common, okay? I'm telling you this story because I want you to factor this into any decision you might make about whether or not you're going to come to Southeast Asia or the Philippines. This is not necessarily a Philippine story. I mean, it happened in the Philippines, but this exact, precise kind of thing will happen everywhere in Southeast Asia. I'm trying to clue you in to the inner workings of the Southeast Asian mindset. Okay? Listen to this closely. This guy's standing there. This is the guy who feeds him 3 times a day for 7 years. At huge personal expense. He spends his entire retirement check on this. Just enough for himself to live on. And he organizes all the... He'd been doing this for many years, 3 times a day. And he's just standing there. Little toddler bumps into the back of his leg, falls down. Sister picks him up, brushes him off. Everything's fine. Mother shows up 10 minutes later and accused him of running over the baby with his motorbike. Well, he wasn't even on the motorbike. Wasn't even near the motorbike. Policeman showed up. Apparently the mother had called one before she went over there. He thought at the time that it was understood that the baby wasn't hit by the bike, that he had just been standing there away from the bike and the baby ran into the back of his calf. It says, but to pour water on troubled water, he agreed to pay for the child to be checked at the local hospital. Okay. Is this a mistake? Yes and no. On the one hand, you want to adhere to some principle and say, well, you didn't do anything wrong. The baby wasn't hurt. No, I'm not going to give you any money to go to the hospital. But on the other hand, if you don't, who knows what can happen? So, hospital visit for a Filipino is cheap. It's probably $8 or $10. So you think you're just sidestepping the bullet and you pay. You want a clean bill of health from the hospital. You just want this thing over, done, forget it. So he did. He paid. No, he didn't pay. He agreed to pay. Did he pay or not? At that time, I think he didn't pay yet. He says later that morning they all turned up at his house. The mother and friends and the sister and the baby. Again, accusing him of running over the baby with the motorbike. Even though there was lots of witnesses there, the sister said he didn't run over the baby. Nobody ran over the baby. The baby didn't have any marks. But the mother is insisting that he ran over the baby and telling the police that. So they all go to the police station to try to get some reason and logic into this thing and sort it out once and for all and get it done with. One official constantly urged the woman to press police charges against him. For what? Well, that's Southeast Asia thinking for you. So they got one police official telling the woman that even though nothing happened, even though all the witnesses said nothing happened and there's no injury, she should press police charges against this guy who's been feeding these kids, her kids, for all these many, many years. Okay, think about that. That's Philippines. That's Southeast Asia. That's the kind of... There's a website called hell... is the impossibility of reason. Think about it. Hell is the impossibility of reason. Okay, I own the domain. I haven't used it yet, but I own it. I'll do something with it. Hell is the impossibility of reason. The situation right up to this point is hell. It's the impossibility of reason. And this should scare you. This one is designed to scare the hell out of you because this is common in Southeast Asia. As much or more so in the Philippines. I've seen this play out so many times. I have not quite been a victim of it. Close. He says, in spite of the facts, his points were that he didn't run over the baby with the bike. The baby ran into the back of his legs and toppled over, and every witness agrees with that. The baby was unharmed. There were all the witnesses. He says, had he been a Filipino, there wouldn't even be a discussion, but he was white. He said he thinks that most of the police and the officials agreed with that assessment because when he wanted to hand over 500 pesos, about $8, could be $9, To pay for the checkup, they said, no, wait until the mother has physically taken the baby to the hospital and got a receipt for the checkup, or the mother will simply pocket the cash and not take the baby to the hospital. Okay, that's Southeast Asia in a nutshell right there. That's it. That's it. That's how it works. Sounds crazy? No. Well, yeah, it's crazy, but this is life in Southeast Asia. We were always told in Thailand and all the other countries, if you're driving along the highway and you come upon a wreck that might have happened an hour, 2, 3 before, got people laying there injured, dead, whatever, cars upside down, don't stop. Don't stop. Drive around it if you can. Turn around, go back the other direction if you have to. Don't stop. Don't get close to it. Don't get within 50 or 100 yards of it. Because very, very often the Southeast Asians will try to figure out some way to say that somehow you caused it and therefore you got to pay them a lot of money. That's Southeast Asia, and that is the fact of it. You still want to come? By God, you got to be careful. And you have to know this stuff. You got to know how to get around. Now, it's really, really, really hard for me to come upon the scene of an accident, kids bleeding in the street, and you don't stop. In the early years, I would have stopped, and I did. And nothing bad happened. But as I saw more and more bad things happen, and I learned, and I got wiser, I stopped stopping. You can end up in prison from stuff like that. Okay. So he has told the mother to go to the hospital, get the baby checked, come back, give him the receipt, he'll pay the receipt. Okay? Even though everybody knows there's no injury. He thought everything was settled. In the afternoon, he was contacted by the police again, saying he needed to go see them as he had been reported. Now a formal criminal complaint for hitting the baby with a motorbike. The official who had been urging the lady, the mother, to make a formal criminal complaint had finally gotten through to the mother, and she agreed to do what he said. So she signed a formal criminal complaint of him hitting the baby with the motorcycle. Even though he wasn't on it, he wasn't near it, it wasn't running. And every witness there says, no, that's not what happened. And there's no injuries. There's one Filipino official who got through the mother and convinced her to sign a false criminal complaint. Common, people. I'm sorry, it's common. Factor this in before you decide you want to come here. He went to see his lawyer, who told him he didn't have to do anything. There was no case. He didn't have to go to the police. He didn't have to do anything because there was no case to pursue. If that was me, I would be really hesitant to take that advice, to just not show up, because then I would be thinking they're just going to come and arrest me. But his Filipino lawyer said, no, don't go, don't do anything. So he didn't. Next morning, it was confirmed that the baby had been examined at the hospital, and there was no injury whatsoever. Zero, nothing. He says the icing on the cake is the mother later came up to him that day and demanded that he pay for medicine for her sick child. There's no injury, so that she's claiming the child is sick with something else. Maybe got a cold, maybe got the flu or something. Maybe it was the, caused by the stress of being run over by the motorbike, something like that. Hell is the impossibility of reason. And too often in Southeast Asia, you're going to find yourself right smack in the middle of hell. And this is why I harp on people to travel light, live light. Don't drive. Don't even own a motorbike. Don't own a car. Be a bird. Some people can do that. Some people can't. I can, because I've learned. I used to be really entrenched in wherever I was living. Now I'm not. Now I'm the bird. I'm the bird. I'm trying to save you heartache and trouble and maybe incarceration. She demanded that he pay for medicine for her sick child, which of course he did, he said. He did. I don't know what the amount was. I don't like this idea of people just paying to smooth things over, because very often it doesn't smooth anything over. It just opens the floodgates. Oh, this guy will pay. Let's see, what else can we make up? Oh, let's see. The chupacabras, they came in the night and they chewed off my baby's hand, and I'm pretty sure that this bad man, he made the chupacabras come, so I want 5 billion pesos right now, or I'm going to make another complaint. You know, that's the shit that keeps so many of us on the fence about living in Southeast Asia. But I do believe I see more of this in the Philippines than any other country. Thailand is a close second. After he paid for the medicine, he thought that was it. Done deal. Over. Because he had paid twice now. For nothing. He said the next day, they were all called back to the police station, where he was encouraged by the police to pay a total of 2,000 pesos more for the distress, suffering, and expenses the mother had suffered while accusing him of running over her child. So she's now saying that by making this false report, swearing out a false criminal complaint, she suffered a lot of stress and distress, and she wants to be compensated for that. Are you listening to this? Are you really comprehending all of this? I hope I'm sort of paraphrasing some of his stuff here, but I hope this is coming through crystal clear. Nobody's making any of this up. It's absolutely factual. Hell is the impossibility of reason. Part of what you're going to experience in Southeast Asia is hell. Suck that up before you come. Because if you're not ready for that and you come here, you're going to be shocked and stunned. And you're going to end up in an asylum because you can't comprehend the world around you. This is the world around you in Southeast Asia. So they're asking him, they're demanding that he pay 2,000 pesos more for the distress and suffering the mother suffered while falsely accusing him of running over her child. They said if he just paid the 2,000 pesos more, that's about $40, the problem would go away once and for all. He said he argued that the hospital found no injuries and that the mother's complaint was a lie. And his lawyer told him to ignore the whole thing and not mess with it. So he paid the 2,000 pesos more. So now he's in it, I forget, 2,500, whatever. Probably close to 3,000 pesos. $60. And this is the thanks he gets for feeding this woman's kids 3 times a day for years and years and years at his own personal expense. Yeah, he still had to pay this. He says he's thankful that he wasn't accused of anything more heinous. He could have been accused of pedophilia. He could have been accused of exposing himself just to get money. Could have been accused of anything at all. He says he wonders now how many Western men have been treated the same way and may well be languishing in prison for crimes that never even happened. Not saying they didn't do it. The crime itself never even occurred. But they're in prison for something that somebody made up. And I wonder that very same thing. Okay, we're going to end this on that dark note. This has been I think this is the longest podcast I ever did. And this is just hitting the highlights. You know, I could go on for 20 more hours on stuff like this. So, bottom line, yes, Southeast Asia, in many respects, is a cool place to live. It's fascinating. I am never, ever, ever bored in Southeast Asia. Never. I don't think for 1 minute have I ever been bored in my decade or more in Southeast Asia. Never. It is amazing. And I have grown as a human being 10,000% more than I ever dreamed I might. And I have seen wondrous things. And I have seen things that make me cry even today. So is that worth it to you? Think of this last story. Is it worth it to you to get involved with that? I actually wrote to this guy and said, hey, you know, I've been wanting to come up there for a long time and do a really formal professional photo shoot of your kids, because I used to do this in Thailand. And the idea was to make really dramatic photos that you could use in any way you want to help you get better donations to buy more sardines and stuff for the kids. You know, that's the whole point. But I told him I'm scared to go up there after this story. And he said, no, come on up. So I will. Traveling anywhere in Southeast Asia is infinitely easier if you have a girlfriend. I don't have a girlfriend anymore. I'm tired of being scammed. And I'm scared of them. So all these guys, you think, oh man, I go to Southeast Asia. Oh geez, I'll have so many girlfriends. Well, yeah, you have. I've had so many girlfriends in all these countries. They number in hundreds. I'm not going to say how many hundreds. Every single one of them, I tried to make it work for life. And not a single one worked out. Usually because of scams, but often also because of the cultural chasms, you know, and drinking and gambling and screwing around with other guys and being bitchy and being bossy and demanding money for their family, and you know, the list goes on and on and on. So here I am, 10 years, 11 years in Southeast Asia, girlfriendless. Can't even have a cat in my damn condo. So think about all the stuff that I'm telling you before you come down here, and I'm going to tell you lots and lots more. All of the old episodes of these, the vulgar ones with lots of F-bombs, those are in Retire Southeast Asia channel on YouTube. And you go to stockphotosworldwide.com and you'll find them all there too. These new ones, the nice ones, these, believe it or not, this is a nice one. Okay, these, the Disney rated ones, are all on the 10 Bears travel channel. That's where all the nice ones are going to go now. This is nice, right? Well, it's YouTube approved. Well, I believe, I don't know. I mean, YouTube is kind of crazy. So, with YouTube, the same old crap applies. Hell is the impossibility of reason. And YouTube is very often, has no reason. So we don't know what will survive the YouTube millennial snowflake censors. We don't know what will survive that. Nobody knows. And anyway, that's it. I'm tired. This is a really long one. Now I got to figure out what kind of tricky background I'm going to put back there. Maybe nothing. Maybe just a green screen. I don't know. But anyway, this is the first one I've done that's been pretty much all negative. And it's all negative stuff you have to know. I'm not going to whitewash this crap. I'm not going to be responsible for you moving down here not knowing this stuff. And this is only part of it. There's huge more parts of it. And I think this is probably the only one I'm going to do that's just nothing but bad. I'll try to mix in the bad with the good in the next ones. Okay. I'm done. My brain has turned to oatmeal jello. Okay, so thank you very much. And good evening. There's the camera. And good night. Jeez.